Hailing from the great cold state of Alaska, I am the Frozen Gamer, and today I want to talk to you guys about the most recent Nintendo Direct and my thoughts on what all was announced. Now, I'm going to start off by saying that most of the predictions I made in my predictions video were wrong. That's fine. To be honest, I really did not expect most of them to come true, but there were a few things that I actually got right, or close to right anyway. So, first of all, they started the whole thing off with what looked like it was going to be DLC for Xenoblade 2. And it's like, oh, Pyra's missing? Pyra took off, she left Rex? What the heck? I mean, for anybody who's actually finished the game, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it seemed like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for that to happen. And so that I was confused, and it just kind of felt to me like one of those situations where it was kind of like just doing it just to do it, like there was no good reason, like story-wise, for that to happen. And so I was just confused throughout this whole thing. And then at the end, they reveal that Pyra and Mythra are coming to Super Smash Bros. As the new character. Now, I had predicted that it would be Rex with Pyra and Mythra, and I'm actually glad I was wrong. Because, to be honest, I've never been that much of a fan of Rex. Like, I love Shulk in Xenoblade 1, but in Xenoblade 2, I mean, like, Rex is fine. I like him alright, but I did like Pyra and Mythra, and it does add something a little bit different. Yes, it's an anime sword fighter. Yes, the only real difference is that it's a female, which I think there's only... Technically, there's 3, I think, female sword fighters, because you have the female version of Corrin, and you have the female version of Byleth, and then you have what's her face? Crom's daughter. For some reason I'm blanking on what her name is. I'll just put it up on the screen. Anyway, so you just have basically those 3 characters, and now you have Pyra and Mythra coming. I love it because Xenoblade 2, while I didn't enjoy it as much as Xenoblade 1 or Xenoblade X, it was still a game I really enjoyed, and I do think Pyra and Mythra, it's just something, it's from a game that I enjoyed overall, and I did enjoy the characters, and I don't know, the aesthetic of their weapon and everything. I mean, and just, the way the characters look in general is cool. But yeah, I was really excited about that. It was definitely one of those things where I was just laughing when they revealed that it was in fact them coming to Smash Brothers, and that it's just them and not Rex. And I love the Gramps stage. I think that's perfect. I mean, one of the things that I always have to say about Smash Brothers is that regardless of how excited I get about the character reveals or how much I appreciate, the kinds of things that they bring in, I always love their stages. And something that really makes them better to me than like the ones in PlayStation All-Stars, which those ones had the potential to be so good. Because like so many of the stages, the base versions by themselves are fantastic. I love the base versions of the stages, but then they add the second game into those stages and it just ruins them. It just made them, it's like instead of maintaining the theme of the particular game that it started with, like the Uncharted stage where it's on the plane and you have like the cargo thing falling out. It's been a long time since I played PlayStation All-Stars, but I really like that. The BioShock Infinite stage, there's like a Sly Cooper stage and other stuff, and it's like on their own, those stages are so great, but then they add in a game that does not fit with it at all. Something completely contrasting, and it ruined those stages. But Smash Brothers always has good stages. Well, for the most part. Some of the stages I don't like as much as others. Anyway, that being said, Pyra and Mythra coming to Xenoblade 2. Not Xenoblade. Coming to Smash Brothers. My goodness, it's late. It's been a long day. Them coming to Smash Brothers with the Gramps stage, I think that's great. I'm very excited about that. Second thing that was announced, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. is coming to Switch this summer. I honestly don't care. I do think that it looks really good, assuming the visuals they were showing were actually representative of what the Switch version is. That's fantastic. I'm sure the game is fun. It's just not really something I have ever had any interest in playing. It's just me. Outer Wilds. Now this game, I had heard the title, but it's not something I knew about the concept, and it's definitely intriguing to me. It's something that I'm very interested in. Not necessarily that it's going to be a day one purchase or anything, but it is a game that I am very interested in playing, for sure. Samurai Warriors, I don't care. The last time I got a Warriors game was Hyrule Warriors, which I bought on the Wii U, and then I bought it again on 3DS, thinking that I might play it more there, and I did not. I played it more on Wii U, and then I did not play it very much on 3DS, and then I did not buy it on Switch, and have no desire to. I just find those games to be very tedious, and Samurai Warriors not having the fan service of having, like all these characters from a franchise I love, there's just very little reason for me to be interested in Samurai Warriors. I will say it looks good. Like, graphically, it looks great, but it's just not for me. Legend of Mana, I know this was originally a PlayStation 1 game. I never really got into one of the previous games, which is Secret of Mana on Super Nintendo. I tried playing it for a little bit, and it just wasn't grabbing me. It's just never a series I got into, and so it is what it is. But it's not really something I'm excited about. Now, as for Mario Golf Super Rush, that's something that actually surprised me a bit. Now, not necessarily because I never thought there would be a Mario Golf or anything like that, but more just because this one actually has me more interested. In part because I do like the relaxing nature of a golf game, and this one looks like it is kind of that more. But also the speed golf mode, where you hit the ball and everybody can run at the same time and go hit the ball, and it's just whoever gets the ball in the hole first. I think that's great. I think that looks really cool. Visually the game looks incredible. It looks so good. And the great thing is that when you see these trailers that are representing the footage that you're going to get, how the game's going to look, in every situation, at least with the complete first-party titles, not the ones that are developed by a second-party studio like Monolith Soft, they have always been incredibly great looking on Nintendo's hardware. And I think that it's going to look pretty much just as good as it looks there. It looked like it was running at 60 frames per second, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. But either way, I think that's great. And the fact that they have an RPG mode is definitely something that appeals to me. Yeah, I would prefer not doing it with the Mii. I would rather just do it with one of the actual Nintendo characters, Mario, Yoshi, whatever. But I'm still interested, and the fact that it has that single player mode makes me more interested than I would be otherwise, because typically when it comes to games like that have fun multiplayer, a lot of times if there's nothing single player, nothing to really keep me playing, it's really hard for me to stick with a game like that and to really be motivated to buy it. But it is something that I'm interested in. I'll probably end up getting it. It'll probably not be a day one purchase, but it will be something that I'm planning to try out. The next announcement was just showing more about Monster Hunter Rise. I'm blown away by how good this game looks graphically. I played the demo, and I thought it looked amazing as it is, especially just when you compare it to all of the Monster Hunter titles we've gotten on Nintendo before this, because it's just been stuff on. You had the Wii version of Monster Hunter Tri, and then you got the 3DS version, which looked fine for 3DS, and I enjoyed it. I thought it looked good. And then, 4 Ultimate and whatever that other one, that middle one was. And you had the one on Switch, which was just a port of the 3DS version. I guess there was also 3 Ultimate was also on on Wii U. But anyway, the point is that none of these games have looked like the graphics match the platform that they're on. And Monster Hunter Rise definitely matches the platform's capabilities for a change. Now, I do wish that it was something that ran at 60 frames per second rather than 30, but at the same time, it looks so good that I can live with it. And besides, the previous games ran at 30, and I was perfectly fine playing that way. It's just, obviously 60 is always better for gameplay. Just always. I mean, there are some situations where it makes less of a difference, but for the most part, especially when you're playing an action game, having that extra frame rate, that extra smoothness makes all the difference in how the game plays. And so Monster Hunter Rise, it just looks great. I'm not going to get it probably, only because I bought 3 Monster Hunter games before this. So there's Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, which I played a ton of on 3DS. I played like 200 something hours. And then I got stuck at the last quest of the high rank, because I was just doing it all single player. I wasn't doing the multiplayer online. And I just got stuck there, and I've occasionally gone back and tried to get like the one single drop I need in order to upgrade my hammer so that it hits harder, so that maybe I can get through the Mark of a Hero quest that has you facing off against 3 G rank monsters, and I just never did. But and then Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, I played quite a bit, but probably still only like maybe 30 hours. I just kind of felt like I couldn't really get into it because I never finished 3 Ultimate to my satisfaction. And then I got Generations Ultimate on Switch, and I just never really got that much into it. I think I might have actually played Generations Ultimate probably a good 20 hours, but even then, it's still just... I kept feeling like, okay, I never finished these other games. What am I doing starting up another one? It's just... And of course, the amount of time I had to play is just completely different with, 3 Ultimate, when I was playing that, I didn't have any kids, and now I have 3 kids. So it's just a whole different situation. But Rise looks great. It's just probably not something I'm going to play. And then the Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville Complete Edition, coming out in March. It's okay. It's not for me. I played the original Plants vs. Zombies. I loved it. And then after that, I just kind of lost interest. I tried playing the Plants vs. Zombies, the first one that came to PS4. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like, the third-person shooter, which this one is too. And it wasn't really for me. It wasn't something I was that interested in. I think it's mostly just because I don't really like getting into multiplayer-only games with no real progression to them. And while this one, I don't know, this one might have progression, but it's not really something that interests me that much. Capcom Arcade Stadium was announced. That came out, was shadow dropped right after the Direct. Not really something that I care about, honestly. Stubbs the Zombie. I think it looks like it could be a really fun game, but it's not something that I'm like, oh, I definitely want to play this. Now, if someone gave me the game, I would definitely play it. I would give it a try. I'm sure it would be fun. I've heard it's a good game, but it's just... It's not something that's that exciting to me. Then we had Famicom Detective Club, which I'm guessing must have originally been on the Famicom in Japan. And then, obviously this is a new version, like a remake of the game. Basically like visual novels. I think it looks cool. It's something I might enjoy playing. I might check it out at some point, but I'm not entirely sure because I do like some visual novels. Like I loved the Zero Escape series and Danganronpa. But it's just one of those things where I might check it out eventually, but it's not at the top of my list. It wasn't something that got me excited. Then we did get to see some more of No More Heroes 3 and get a release date for it. Now, I will say, I do think that No More Heroes 3's visuals are not very good. I mean, I do have to recognize, okay, Suda51, his style of these games, it tends to not be something that shows off what the hardware can do necessarily. Not necessarily visually the best looking game, but what I did notice, at least part of the trailer, I'm hoping the whole game, but it looked like at least a decent chunk of it was running at 60 frames per second, which is very, very good, because for those games, that makes all the difference in the world, having that reaction time. And although people were not really a fan of Travis Strikes Again, which was is a game that takes place between No More Heroes 2 and 3, and is very different style of game, I liked it overall. There was definitely some times where it felt a little more tedious, but I did really like the Death Glove, and that is something that they're bringing forward from Travis Strikes Again into No More Heroes 3, and it basically just gives Travis some additional abilities, so it's not just, you know, hitting stuff with your beam katana. So it does add something to it. It adds, you know, more abilities, and looks like there's a bit of a skill tree, or at least upgrading like your health and things like that. And I think that's really good that they're adding additional mechanics to make the game more interesting, make it a little bit deeper than it's been in the past. They're bringing back some of the mini games that they had from No More Heroes 1, and I always kind of liked the minigames in 1 more than 2, even though some of the minigames are terrible. But it looked like they're at least bringing back some of the better ones, particularly like the lawn mowing and probably picking up bugs. I mean, it was scorpions in No More Heroes 1. I'm not sure what it is in this game, but it's still pretty interesting. And who knows, maybe they'll do a little bit of both kinds of games, do some of the 8 and 16-bit style games as well. Either way, I mean, they're also making it so that you actually have to earn money to pay an entry fee to get into the fights, which of course was in No More Heroes 1, and it was kind of mixed on whether or not it was enjoyable, even though there were faster ways to do it. But then there's in No More Heroes 2, you didn't have that entry fee, so I'm kind of mixed on that, but I think for the most part, you know, it gives me a reason to do the mini games and stuff more, and, you know, presumably some sort of assassination missions or something to that effect, like they had in both No More Heroes 1 and 2, although less so in 2. Either way, I do think that it's something that I'm okay with them having in there, and I'm sure that there is enough changes to how they function compared to how they did on the Wii, just because of the differences in what you have for control options, and I think it'll be just fine. I'm sure that, considering the last game No More Heroes 2 came out in 2010, I believe. Actually, it might have even been 2009. I can't remember, but it came out a long time ago, and, you know, I'm not too concerned about whether or not they've updated the controls. I will say, I mean, like, Travis Strikes Again controlled well. It just had some oddities here and there, and was a bit repetitive at times. Probably much more so than the first 2 games. But anyway, No More Heroes 3, I believe it's August 27th, I want to say, is when it comes out. Either way, I'm very excited about that. Very much looking forward to playing it. And while I wouldn't mind if they updated the visuals and made it look a bit better, I can live with it, because the gameplay is so much fun. And, you know, if you're going to have better frame rate versus better visuals, I'll take the frame rate. I prefer that for a game like that. Then we saw that they are doing Mario-themed items for Animal Crossing. For Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I think that's great that they're finally bringing that stuff in. I kind of wish they had just had it from the start, because I don't think it's going to draw me back in. I've fallen off of Animal Crossing really hard. just as a side note, I think most likely when we get to the 1-year anniversary, which is a month from today, which is the day that I'm recording, February 20th, most likely I will record a discussion about, where we are now with my wife again, and we can just talk about where we're at with it, because she still plays the game all the time. She has hundreds of hours, and then I have, I think, maybe like a little over 100. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that they have, especially that warp pipe. That is freaking awesome. But I have so little incentive to play that game anymore. So it is what it is. Knockout City, that's coming to Switch, which is like it looked like it was basically dodgeball, like a multiplayer dodgeball battle royale. I mean, it seems like it could be fun, but I don't like playing those online only games. It's just, I'm not interested in games that are just multiplayer, nothing more, that there's no co-op, nothing like that, no progression. It just does not keep me invested, and so I don't care about that. Then we had the reveal for the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. That Ninja Gaiden Collection, I've never played a Ninja Gaiden game, not even single time, and I'm sure that they're good games, but I'm just not interested in getting into these really hard games when I have a big stack of games that I can play without feeling like I'm just beating my head against a wall. And maybe I would enjoy them if I really gave them a shot. I don't know, but I'm not that interested. The next thing revealed was actually a pretty big surprise for me, and that is Project Triangle Strategy, which is just like a working title. And this is from the same people who made Octopath Traveler, and that also originally was a working title and then ended up being the final game title. But it has me intrigued because I did like Octopath Traveler overall, but I have not checked out the demo yet. I keep forgetting to download it, and I'm not a huge fan of the grid-based, turn-based strategy games. Like, I enjoy them to a degree, but I kind of get burnt out on them after a while. So we'll see, but I'm willing to check it out because I love the art style. That 2D HD thing was amazing in Octopath. And if they bring back any of the same composers, I'm sure I'm going to love the soundtrack, because Octopath has probably my favorite game soundtrack of any game. So I'm willing to give it a try. And I know that they listened to the feedback with the Octopath demo, and I'm sure they'll do the same for this, and hopefully this will end up being a great game. But I'll check it out. And then we had Miitopia, which was a 3DS game getting ported up to the Switch. I don't care. Meh. And then Star Wars Hunters, which was just kind of like a little teaser. It didn't show any gameplay or anything. It was like, okay, why do I care about this? I mean, you're gonna announce something that's like, oh, it's a Star Wars game where you get to hunt Jedi, I guess, maybe. Okay. I haven't been impressed with a lot of the stuff that's come as far as games Star Wars related recently. Like, I've heard really good things about Jedi Fallen Order, and I'm interested in playing that. I'm definitely planning to get it at some point. But this game, I have no idea what it actually is, and you have to convince me. I have been far too disappointed with the majority of what we've gotten from Disney as far as Star Wars goes. You have to convince me that this is worthwhile. Otherwise, I'm just going to completely ignore it. Like I did Rise of Skywalker. World's End Club. This is a game, a collaboration between the creators of Danganronpa and the Zero Escape series. And I hate the art style. I really, really hate it. However, I'm going to probably give this game a chance because I loved Zero Escape and I love Danganronpa. I just hope it's good. I really hope it's good. I know that it actually already is out, I think, on like Android and iOS, or at least just iOS. I'll have to look into it, but I really do not like that art style. I think it's terrible. There's actually something else that has an even worse art style that for some reason isn't in this list. I guess they left it out of the list for the same reason that I would have, if not for the fact that it just came to mind. And that was that, I don't remember what it was called. It was like some teenage superhero game where you're playing as Barbara Gordon, you know, a Batgirl, and then you have other female superheroes, and the art style is god-awful. It is so bad. The gameplay looks like it might be kind of fun, but I just have a feeling it's going to be one of those games that's super repetitive, and that's... Gosh, that art style is so bad. It is so terrible. And, I mean, maybe it'll appeal to some kids. Maybe there's some people who are, like, hardcore DC fans who love this stuff, but I just don't care. And when you give the game such a terrible art style, you make me care even less than I would have cared otherwise. I mean, for one, I'm not a teenage girl, which, you know, is in and of itself a thing. But furthermore, it just seems like it's so much a teenage girl game, like a teenage girl simulator. And I mean, even what you call it? Oh, that Square choose your own adventure thing. Gosh, I can't even remember what it's called. It's on the tip of my brain. It'll probably come to me like at the end of this whole recording. That one, I mean, I liked that reasonably well, even if it was kind of a teenage girl simulator, but it was different. There was just enough of an interesting story to keep me hooked, and this DC Girls game it just looks terrible. It's a horrible art style. And yeah, I'm not touching this thing with a 10-foot pole. Then we got an announcement of DLC of an expansion pass for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. I did not play this game, and I'm not planning to, because I got so burnt out on Hyrule Warriors and I tried the demo of Age of Calamity, and it felt like pretty much the same type of game, like the same rinse and repeat sort of game process that just got me so sick of it. I just, no thank you. Then we had Eiji Aonuma show up and tell us that he's not going to say anything about Breath of the Wild 2 yet. Something's coming later this year, which is great. That's pretty much what I figured would be happening. And I stated as much in my predictions video, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great. I have yet to be disappointed with any of the 3D Zelda games. And Breath of the Wild was definitely up there as one of my favorites. I absolutely love that game, and I'm sure whatever Breath of the Wild 2, or whatever it actually ends up being called, it's going to be great. And I just haven't been disappointed yet, and I have no reason to think that I will be disappointed when it comes to a mainline Zelda game. And then we got the big announcement. For me, this was a big announcement. Now, I had said in my predictions video that I thought they may very well announce Skyward Sword HD. And they did. They really did. And, I mean, it looks about as good as I expected, which is, you know, it's not a gigantic upgrade. I mean, it is 1080p versus what it was 480p maximum on the Wii U, or I mean on the Wii, excuse me, back in 2011. And yeah, 1080p, 60 frames per second, which I know for most games that's not a big deal, but this is the first 3D Zelda game to ever see 60 frames per second on a Nintendo platform. And that made me so happy. It's like, I was watching the trailer, it's like, wow, this is 60 frames, I can tell. I mean, this was completely unexpected. I just figured it was going to be 30 like it was on the Wii. In fact, the Wii, I'm sure there were probably times it dropped below 30. Would be my guess. And like I went back and watched the original trailer for Skyward Sword, and it definitely was running much, much slower. I mean, 30 or lower at times. And as much as I enjoyed the game on Wii, and I did enjoy it, not saying that it was perfect, but I did really enjoy it. I loved it. For a while there, I actually considered it to be my favorite Zelda. I've since kind of gone away from that, thinking about it more. But yeah, I am stoked about Skyward Sword HD. Knowing, for one, they are maintaining the motion controls, which I always liked. I always maintained worked very well. They were not perfect, but they did work pretty well. And I enjoyed the game for what it was, even with its flaws, and there were definitely things that were annoying sometimes about it, particularly things having to do with Fi and getting item descriptions for everything each time you booted up the game. And yeah, it was only the first time after you booted up the game each time, but the problem is that it's like, okay, I played the game, I got all the item descriptions, and then I turned it off, and then when I turned it back on, I got all the item descriptions as I picked up stuff again. That was annoying. Fi was annoying when she would tell you about your health being low or your batteries being low. It's like, the game's already beeping at me. I know that my health is low. I don't need you to keep reminding me. Shut up. But anyway, overall, I really loved Skyward Sword, and Skyward Sword HD, besides the upgrades and visuals, besides the fact that it's portable, and I mean, there is the frame rate upgrade, which is a big deal to me, and they also added button controls, using the right stick to do the same actions that you would normally be doing with the Wii Remote on the original version, and with the Joy-Con on the new version if you do motion controls. And I'm very interested to check that out. I've heard from people having done this with like the Dolphin emulator before that it works really well. I don't know exactly how well it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. I'll see if I like it, because if I like it, I'd be happy to just play that way. I do think in some ways it would be better playing that way over doing traditional motion controls. But if I find that it just plays better with motion controls, then I'll play with motion controls, and I just won't play in handheld mode all that much. But I'm okay with that. Either way, I'm very excited about this. This was like a huge hype announcement for me. This was the thing that got me more excited than anything else. I wanted to talk about this the day that it happened, and I just didn't have time to get to it. I was super busy, and I just had so much to do. But so some of the excitement has worn off a bit, but at the same time, I'm still really hyped for this. I am definitely getting it day one, and I'm actually going to be living somewhere where I'll be able to get it. Go pick it up physically day one, no problem. But I'll talk more about that in a different video. And then along with Skyward Sword, we're getting a special set of Skyward Sword themed Joy-Cons. The right one being modeled after the Master Sword, just in terms of its color scheme, and then the left one being modeled after the Hylian Shield, once again with its color scheme. I'm planning to get those. I didn't get the gold Wii Remote. I can't remember if it was Wii Remote only or if it was Wii Remote and Nunchuck for the original, but either way, I didn't get that. I just got the game by itself. Yeah, so these Joy-Cons look great. I haven't bought a new set of Joy-Cons since launch, really. I mean, other than, buying a new Switch this past year. So I got a new set of Joy-Cons that way, but this will be the first new set of Joy-Cons I bought in a while, and I'm very excited about that. That'll be fun. And then we finally got the very last announcement was something that I did not expect. I had heard some other people talk about it or predict it. I think it was the in Good Vibes Gaming, their discussion with their predictions of what was coming for the Direct. They talked about Splatoon 3 as a possible thing, and that it would be based on the results of the last Splatfest, which was Order versus Chaos, and that, you know, Chaos won, and that this would be the results following that, and it looks like that's exactly what they did. And that's really cool. I think it's neat, and I think the game looks great. Like, it looks really good. It's still running at 60 frames, which is fantastic. These games have all run at 60 frames, even on the Wii U. And yeah, so it looks really good. The one thing about Splatoon for me is that as much as I enjoyed the multiplayer, I never really did it a lot, because for all the good matches I'd get where I'd be having a really good time, I feel like there was at least somewhat of an even pairing and it could go either way in a match. There were so many matches where it was like I'd get paired up against people that were like max level and I'd be at level 2. And that was always frustrating. That's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped playing that game. But I had never finished the single player in Splatoon 2, and this actually made me decide to boot up Splatoon 2 again and get back into the single player, and I've just been working on that little by little. So but yeah, Splatoon 3 is coming out in 2022. It's the only announcement that they made for a game coming out in 2022. Otherwise, almost everything with this direct was first half of the year. The only things that were not the first half of the year were Skyward Sword HD, which is coming July 16th, I believe, and then No More Heroes 3, which I believe is coming August 27th. And the rest of the stuff is all just first half of the year. So, lots of good stuff, lots of meh stuff. Overall, is my thoughts of this direct were that it felt like pretty much a normal direct to me. Like, it was not the most hype, but it also wasn't terrible. I mean, there was... I don't think I've ever had a direct where every single announcement excited me. Not once. I cannot think of a single one. Every single direct has had moments where I've just been like, okay, I don't care about this game. Let's move on. But this is one situation where, I mean, because of that, I went into this not really expecting it to be just hype announcements. I was disappointed at the lack of Metroid. I was very disappointed at that, but I wasn't mad at Nintendo because I didn't really go into it with real expectations. I mean, yeah, I gave my predictions, but most of my predictions were basically just, this is what I think could be shown, and to some degree it was kind of more of a wish list. It was like a wish list combined with things I think could be shown, but I didn't really expect much of anything. And it's a little disappointing that there wasn't more Zelda stuff in there, but at the same time, I can understand why, because, I mean, as I've said before, I really thought that I didn't think they were necessarily going to do any Zelda announcements. I figured it was going to be like, okay, Zelda's going to get its own 35th anniversary direct. There, they will show everything they're doing for the year, and instead they showed us a little bit before that. So, we got Skyward Sword HD, and we got the Age of Calamity expansion pass, and we got the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons, and I'm glad that they're giving Skyward Sword some room to breathe, because it is not one of the best-selling Zelda games. It did not sell well in 2011 on the Wii, despite the Wii having such a huge, massive install base. And I think it was combined between the fact that, you know, we had seen earlier that year the Wii U tech demo, which looked so much better than Skyward Sword, and Skyward Sword has such a different art style and everything. But then that, and just the fact that there's so many people who had Wiis and didn't buy many games for it. They just got it for like Wii Sports and that sort of thing. So, anyway, overall, I thought it was, like I said, just pretty much a normal direct. You know, some great announcements, some Met announcements, some stuff I was like, oh, I want to check that out, and then other stuff where I'm like, no, I'm not going to touch that. I had no interest. But, yeah, not too bad. So, I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm sure that there are lots of people who who absolutely hates Skyward Sword. I've seen plenty of comments in other videos of people being like, oh, Skyward Sword's the worst, I hate it, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And then I see other people. Let me just do this quick rant. Okay. Those of you who complain about how these directs are so terrible, after you get yourself hyped up, expecting everything to be shown, you get mad at Nintendo for not showing you all the things you're expecting. It's like, seriously, you need to temper your expectations. If you've been paying attention to Nintendo Directs, they have not had that super hyped direct with everything that you want to see. That never happens. Go play other stuff. If Nintendo's your only platform, believe me, there's still a ton of amazing games on this system, and I guarantee you that you have not played all of them. Just because Nintendo doesn't show you all of their first-party games that are coming out this year doesn't mean that there aren't good first-party games coming out this year. And furthermore, play other games. And if you have other systems, play other systems. It's fine. You don't have to play just Nintendo Switch. I mean, I look at my Steam library, or like my games on my Vita, my 3DS, even older games, and I have probably 100+ games that I could be playing. And probably a good dozen of them are on Switch alone. And that's not even counting all the games that I actually want to play on Switch. There's plenty of... I have like probably a dozen games on my wish list on Switch that I want to get, but I'm just kind of waiting for sales. And I don't know, I'm tired of people being so entitled. And it's not just Nintendo people, it's people, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, even PC gamers to some degree. It just, it depends on where you're at with things, but just so many people that they just can't be satisfied with what they have. They always have to complain about something. Find something else to do. If you are not happy with what's coming out, play an old game. Find a game that you love and go back to it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Anyway, I think I'm done ranting with that, and just like I said, Nintendo Direct, I thought it was fine. I mean, it was not excellent, but it wasn't bad either. Plenty of good announcements. Skyward Sword HD has me hyped, and several other things are very exciting to me. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until next time, this has been the Frozen Gamer, and I will talk to you later. Take care.